But I hear they say in subversion. But East Indians supported India in Gandhi's struggle for independence. And every Indian in this land take up a stance. The Syrians send we money to Syria. The Chinese did the same thing to China. And not even solidarity. Black people will pledge for South Africa. Brutality meted out in the home of your ancestor. So raise your head, Mr. African, raise your head. Corrupted elements plotting while you in bed. Raise your head, Mr. African, raise your head. Wake up, shake up, the dreadful times are ahead. Remember Steve Biko, he died in jail, you know. He fought them oppressors, fakes and brutal murderers. Now they're raising sanctions.
Alright, so for those of you who are coming on live, I'm just letting you know that we're getting ready to go to a live press conference that Dr. Rowley is hosting. Dr. Rowley, former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, is hosting a press conference in a short while. So as soon as that starts, the press conference with Dr. Rowley.
So why so complacent, my people? Me and you suffer disunity, while other races ripping up you and me. Time to stamp out this evil trend. If not for yourself, but for your children. 500 years we in slavery, you fear to recognize your ancestry. Without Africa, black man, you don't have no country. So raise your head, Mr. African, raise your head. Self-contempt is what you are being fed. Raise your head, Mr. African, raise your head. Wake up, shake up, the dreadful times are ahead. You recognize Columbus, black people was here first. Francis Drake and Rowley come to exploit this colony. They lock up your history, European trash they keep feeding we. Man, know thyself.
All right, so good morning, everyone. Good morning to those of you locked on to the live. This morning, Dr. Rowley is doing a press conference. Dr. Rowley is doing a press conference this morning. So we're just waiting on the press conference to start so that we can go live to his press conference. I don't know what the press conference is about, but really waiting to see. As soon as it starts, we are going live on Constructive Talk.
Raise your head, Mr. African, raise your head. Raise your head, Mr. African, raise your head.
Testing, can you hear me? Mic is not supposed to be on right now. guys, welcome, welcome. We're just waiting for the press conference to start. Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister Keith Rowley. We're waiting. I guess we're going to Trinidad today. How you guys feeling this morning? We got a poll up in the chat. Do you miss Keith Christopher Rowley as your Prime Minister? Do you wish he was still in charge? Answer the poll, guys. Let's at least get interactive before the press conference starts. How you guys doing this morning? How you feeling? How was your sleep? What are you doing right now? Where you at? Are you at work? Are you at home? How are you watching it? How are you watching it? Are you on your TV? Let's kick the Willy Bobo while we wait for this ballhead man to start his press conference. Uranus McFarlane says, Rowley, go from here. Go plant your yam seeds and see about your sheep. Welcome, Uranus McFarlane. I like that name. Uranus. Welcome, Melinda. We're just waiting for the press conference to begin. Tell me, Troy Smith, do you rather tighten your belt or have no belt to tighten at all, like what's happening right now in the UNC, because everybody getting sent home? Which you rather, Troy Smith? I'm not saying this, Melinda is saying this. The UNC is a vindictive, racist party and only cares about their people. I didn't say that, Melinda said that. welcome to the Slimy Show, broadcasting on the Workers' Right platform. We're currently waiting for ex-Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley to begin his press conference, which was scheduled to start at 10 a.m. It is now 10:25 a.m. I guess he is still working. Well, actually, he's not a leader anymore. He's maybe just waking up out of his bed. He's working on Trinity time, taking his time.
And I have an hour because it is of such grave importance to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I have heard it said on many occasions that we are so overly reliant on the energy sector that we seem to have failed as a nation to not have suitable alternatives for revenue generation in our country. But that's a conversation for a different day and for greater depth, reason, and analysis. What I am concerned about today is the position that Trinidad and Tobago is in, has found itself in, and is digging deeper into the perils that attend us. And I am of the view that very many citizens still do not understand the depth of
Hold on 1 second,
our
guys. Let me
circumstances. As the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago,
It's not gonna work.
who had to make the analysis in 2015 as to whither goes Trinidad and Tobago in the energy sector, and who spent the majority of his prioritization working on, with, and about our revenue stream from energy. I am alarmed at the position of Trinidad and Tobago today as expressed by, or not expressed at all, by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Because one will have to come to the conclusion
Hold on.
that the government is either ill-informed or the government is just reckless. For example, when the government of Trinidad and Tobago, through the Prime Minister, says we don't need Venezuelan gas, as a throwaway comment to try to explain her approach to governance in the context of our requirements and our vulnerabilities, that is a statement which has far-reaching consequences for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. As I speak to you today, Trinidad and Tobago has proven reserves of gas in the order of about approximately 10 to 12 trillion cubic feet of gas. The people who invest in that business require, for new investment, gas for comfortably 20 or 25 years. Because the nature of the outlay of the investment is so large that if you don't have that amount of years of gas, it doesn't make sense to start a business that requires the kinds of volumes of gas that the Point Lisas type industries are. And add to that Atlantic LNG, which is just a processing of the gas from one form to another for transport. And thirdly, I want this country to know and to remember, as we boast we are one of the few countries in the world where all our energy comes to us from natural gas. The electricity that we use from this bulb above your head to the street lights, to the manufacturing floor, to the big industries and the industrial estate, we are all using electricity from gas. So bear that in mind. So unless we find significant gas reserves in the coming years, bring them up to add to the proven gas reserves, we will be struggling to maintain even our current reduced levels of production and consequently revenues that go with it. So therefore, how did the government of Trinidad and Tobago, the PNM, address this situation? One, we said we wanted to remain in the business of hydrocarbons. Oil, as is being reduced, we're still in it. Gas, as is now our main supplier of revenue, but we are cognizant of the fact that we do not have a huge gas reserve anymore. We have moved down our daily consumption from 4.3 billion cubic feet per day to now we are down at 2.6 and possibly could be falling. The trend is downwards. And of course, most importantly, we can't look at the reserves and say that we have 10 trillion cubic feet so we can keep processing and manufacturing and selling LNG because we have 10 trillion cubic feet. What we have to say is that if that is the reserve, we have to stop manufacturing, stop selling LNG at a point well below 1 or 2 TCF of gas. Because if we use up most of this gas or all of it in the manufacturing petrochemical sector and the LNG sector or both, and then we have to stop because we don't have enough, and we use up what is there for our electricity generation, it would mean that a crisis will arise somewhere down the road, not too far away.
Hang on a second, let me adjust this screen.
Where gas for electricity for Trinidad and Tobago will become the issue. Trinidad and Tobago has proven reserves of gas in the order of about approximately 10 to 12 trillion cubic feet. The people who invest in that business, the people who invest in that new investment require for gas for comfortably 20 or 25 gas years. For comfortably because the nature of the outlay, because the nature of the outlay of the investment is so large, that if you don't have that amount of years of gas, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense a business that requires to start a business kinds of volumes of gas, the kinds of volumes of gas type industries, that the point Lisa's type. And add to that, and Atlantic LNG. Atlantic LNG processing, which is just of the gas from one form to another for transport. And thirdly, I want this country to know and to remember as we boast. We are one of the few.
Is this audio messed up? How is this audio coming through?
In the world where all our energy comes to us natural gas.
You know what? Let me just switch back to the Facebook feed. This shit is not.
From this bulb above your head, to the manufacturing floor, to the big industries and the industrial estate, using all electricity, using gas, electricity and gas. So bear that in mind. So unless we find significant gas reserves to that situation, we have to make sure that we leave enough reserves in our formations to keep supplying electricity, because electricity is our number one.
1 second, let me switch back to the Facebook
and
feed.
in the future. Even as we say that we want to sell more as petrochemicals, or we want to sell more as LNG. But if the circumstances turn out that I was the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago in 2015 when this confluence came together. We had an American government. As far as we are concerned, America is a friendly nation. We have deep business relationships with America, not just trade and diplomacy, but over 200,000 people in America claim Trinidad and Tobago as home. They and their children. And of course, we as the government of Trinidad and Tobago have to be mindful of ensuring that what made us a nation, what kept us safe, is preserved. And what kept us safe? What kept us safe was our subscribing to the principles, the fundamental principles of the UN Charter, which provides protection for small nations like ours and large nations. And the fundamental principle of that because we have 10 trillion cubic feet. That we do not subscribe to might is right, and power should be used against those who can't defend themselves. We have to stop manufacturing. And in the UN Charter, you have the expectation that nations would not interfere in the business of other nations, will not threaten other nations, and will not intervene in the business of other nations. Most of this gas or all of it, because that ruptures the peace.
I don't know what the fuck is
and in CARICOM, where we are a founding member and in fact a leader in CARICOM, and then we have to stop because we don't have enough. Took our protection by writing in support and subscribing our electricity to the region that a crisis being a zone of peace somewhere down the road. And that means nations interacting with nations should do so peacefully, and differences should be resolved by dialogue and conversation and diplomacy. That's what we subscribe to. That is what protects us. That is why when the United States mobilized Canada, surprisingly, and the European Union, and declared that they were unhappy with the government of Venezuela, and they determined that there should be regime change in Venezuela, the PNM government at the time saw a great potential calamity for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. CARICOM saw that. We had an emergency CARICOM meeting when that matter resulted in the removal of diplomacy between the United States and Venezuela. That we have gas for electricity. Because we saw the trouble that has for all of us. How did CARICOM respond to that situation? CARICOM resorted to its fundamental principle that our governments, our nations, subscribe to what we call the Errol Barrow principle. Friend of all, satellite of none. If we put ourselves in that situation, then we can talk to and treat with anybody who our sovereignty allows us to do that. That's our right. We defended that right. So when the European Union gave Maduro 8 days to leave office, and Canada took the position that time for talking done, and the United States took the position that regime change is the objective, we realized that there was a crisis. Trinidad and Tobago led in CARICOM on this issue. At the emergency meeting of CARICOM, where we spoke to Washington, we spoke to Caracas, we gave our advice. No,
the problem is this is a Facebook feed and I can't display the Facebook feed properly because I have to use the desktop because the window stuff that I'm using wants you to freaking log in, so I have to use it like
the United Nations on this issue. That delegation comprised the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the Prime Minister of Barbados, and the Prime Minister of St. Kitts. the three of us traveled to the office of the Secretary General. And it was to make one point. We want, in this dire situation, that the principles of the UN Charter apply to all of us. That's our protection, because we cannot defend ourselves, our population, our economies in a situation if the United States and Europe and others, who might be, decide to create in our neighborhood, in our region, armed conflict. Because what we saw was a Venezuelan nation that was prepared to defend its sovereignty from outsiders who were dictating to Venezuela who should be their government, who should manage their resources, and how it should proceed. As we did that, the Secretary General Gutierrez, spoke publicly to the world that the government of Venezuela is the Maduro government.
Hello.
Norway, South Africa, Mexico, and Uruguay joined the CARICOM in this requirement for protection and defense of the zone of peace. Uruguay organized a meeting in Montevideo. We all traveled to Montevideo, and we had serious confrontation with Europe as to what do you expect with any attempt at regime change in Venezuela. Why aren't you concerned about our interests in this matter? Europe backed away and backed down on their position. Canada backed away from time for talk done. Norway took the initiative to generate the conversation and the dialogue and the diplomacy. And they met in Barbados, where Venezuela came to the meeting, CARICOM came to the meeting, and we had that. And that matter boiled down. Venezuela was still having some issues.
Hold on.
CARICOM took the leadership.
All right, this is a Facebook feed. I'm not going to beat my head up over this. Just listen to what the fuck the man's saying. Forget the video.
Guyana and Venezuela took.
Just listen to what the fuck he's saying. Forget the video. Just listen to his words. That's all that matters. You don't have to look at his ugly face.
A chance. That's how it was. In comes the government of Trinidad and Tobago at a later date, when Washington has a more aggressive.
This is the best I can do at short notice with a Facebook feed. Stop complaining.
And guys, rather than be more careful, be cognizant of how we manage ourselves before, look at our vulnerabilities. We have a
just listen to his words. That's all that matters.
Doesn't go to work, doesn't talk to the media, don't care who she fire, don't care who gets a job, but she bad. And America is going to break international law according to American analysis from American parliamentarians, senators, and congressmen. They are the ones arguing now about whether their country is following international law. We're listening to them. It's now 6 weeks that we have been in this situation where the United States representatives are making statements about what their government is doing because it does not make sense to them, and their determination is that these actions are illegal. But strangely enough, European countries are in fact taking the same position on the legality of what's happening in the Caribbean right now. And of course, you have a number of persons in the know taking that position. But of course, the Americans have made it quite clear. They are our friend, now we know that. They are our major trading partner. We have no issue with the United States as a nation. We want to preserve our relationship with the United States, but we don't have to accept every policy that the United States execute, especially in international geopolitics. And we have to put our interests first. So how did we do that? A government that comes out and says, borrowing a statement from abroad, we are putting Trinidad.
You send me this stream. I asked you for this stream 30 minutes in advance to prepare for it. You sent me this stream after he went live. So this is the best you can do.
Not that the Americans asked for help, but we volunteered help to the United States military effort in the event that the United States military is engaged with Venezuela. Doesn't matter what for. It was cloaked in some comment about Guyana, but there was never any issue of Venezuela invading Guyana. That was a throwaway statement. But the gist of the statement was, in the event that the United States is military engaged with Venezuela, the Trinidad and Tobago stand with the United States. What that did, what that statement did, it dumped all the protection that we had of a nation aiming to be neutral where there's confrontation on the horizon, and taking a position with one of the potential combatants. From where I sit, from where I came, I could not believe that Trinidad and Tobago, after decades of advocating, supporting, and receiving the benefit of friends of all, satellite of none, and wanting the Charter of the United Nations to prevail in all circumstances to protect us, we decide that somehow we better off and have benefits to be had by taking a side. Let me tell you how far we went to this prior to what you all knew about. On the night when the news was that the United States has expelled the Venezuelan diplomats from the United States, we had a CARICOM meeting going on. It was virtual. I was at the tower, at the Twin Towers in Portsmouth. CARICOM took a decision in that discussion to put a CARICOM Prime Minister on the phone to talk directly to President Maduro.
How does this look?
And to tell him, it matters not what the Americans have done with respect to your diplomats.
Is this visually pleasing?
Venezuela is not to expel American diplomats because you are only worsening the situation. If the Americans want to leave, let them leave on their own, but it must not be an expulsion by the government of Venezuela. How's CARICOM? And of course, we decided that we're taking sides. To fight drug dealers. Two gangs were named, not by the UN as the source of our troubles, but of course, the gangs are named and people are killed.
How's the audio? How's the audio?
Trinidad and Tobago comes out and says, we support that policy. We will add to that policy. We will defend that policy. Everybody else around the world who believe in the rule of law, saying that is not the policy that any democratic country should take. And I will tell you something else too. That policy comes from the United States. As Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, I can tell the country today that I am satisfied that our police service in Trinidad and Tobago and persons with access to the police service in Trinidad and Tobago were in fact conducting extrajudicial killings in Trinidad and Tobago. I happen to be satisfied that that was true. As Prime Minister, I was approached by the United States government, threatened with the implementation of the Lay Act against Trinidad and Tobago for the behavior of police officers in Trinidad and Tobago who had been seen to have killed people under dubious circumstances. So here it is. The United States is prepared to confront Trinidad and Tobago about police killings in Trinidad and Tobago, extrajudicial killings, and to threaten to cut off from us association of our agencies, sharing information, and receiving any American help in the fight against crimes. That's what I had to deal with. Those matters are still alive in the domains of Trinidad and Tobago. But how could you be interested in it in that way? But today, the very said act is multiplied tenfold. And my country is out there saying, Go full speed ahead. Trinidad and Tobago is behind you. And of course, after a few days, a few weeks, we are now able to say that having killed
Testing.
almost 100 people, only one name has surfaced so far as to the persons who have been involved in this so-called drug trafficking, and they were killed for that suspicion. And the one name came into the public domain, not from those who are killing the suspects, but from the president of Colombia, who has identified a fisherman from Colombia, whose family identified a person who was killed and is today taking legal action against those who've killed him. That's the only name that's surfacing now. But more interestingly, while the Chief Secretary in Tobago is telling our fishermen, don't go further than 2 miles out in the ocean because something happening out there that's dangerous to you, while here in Trinidad our fishermen in the South Coast are free to go into the water, while anybody in the Caribbean in a pleasure craft is a target, possible target that could be wiped out, a minister of government in Trinidad and Tobago is able to say to the media that no citizen of Trinidad and Tobago has been involved in any of this matter. No fisherman of Trinidad and Tobago. How does he know that? How does this minister know that? We have got no names of anybody who've been killed out there by those who have killed them or by those who have provided the marsh to our government. Because I have to tell you something. The government of Trinidad and Tobago needs to answer, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago needs to answer to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And the question is this: what did you agree to do with the Americans with respect to this matter of regime change in Venezuela? Are you or were you aware that is the Americans' intention to attack Venezuela, to conduct military action in Venezuela? Because I've heard the president saying that he has cleared the CIA to act inside of Venezuela. Those of us who grew up in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, we know what that means. Here in the Caribbean, we know the attempts by the CIA to do certain things in the Caribbean. We know it's all our history. But when the president says that, I want to ask the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, in the discussions that you've had with the American agencies, are you aware of what their intention is? And if you are you prepared to share that with the people of Trinidad and Tobago? Because 2 Fridays ago, something was happening that threw this country into turmoil. Absolute panic in Trinidad and Tobago, because it was led to believe that an attack on Venezuela was imminent. The Prime Minister has nothing to say. She's in hiding under some rock somewhere or in a palace somewhere. But here it is. We are in turmoil over a potential military action, and the Prime Minister has nothing to say. The ministers, the less said, the better. And of course, every time we get something from the government is a doubling down on this situation, cloaked in what the Americans say it's cloaked in. Initially, it was cloaked in fighting drug dealers.
Some new saris.
But it is interesting. Those of us who have had the conversations with the leaders of the various countries, our government is having us believe that what is happening, because the Prime Minister has said it over and over, implying that those of us who don't agree are in fact supporting criminals. I want to make it very clear.
He's a con man.
We have absolutely no sympathy for anybody who chooses a life in the drug trade. None. But we also maintain that in treating with them, it must be done within the confines of the rule of law. That's our position. And that is not a corollary of we supporting drug trade and drug dealers.
I'm pretty sure he did, Mr. Biggs.
And of course, we now see a situation where all the information available to the world, to us as members of the United Nations, on the drug trade, does not tell us that Venezuela is a major source of cocaine or a major transshipment point. And they've told us where those sources are and where the major transshipment is. And we do know for a fact
You
that
don't want to
we
hear
do
my
have
voice, Bell?
effects in Trinidad and Tobago from the drug trade. Nobody's saying no. But that does not permit us to jettison the rule of law, nor encourage any other country so to do. If you follow the news coming out from the international circles, you will find that it is now quite clear, especially when the United States Secretary of Defense identify an operation, which involves
the mic is muted, but for some reason
the most
you're still hearing
powerful
me, Chad. I don't know
arms
why
and
that's happening.
ammunition
I'm
and
still
maybe the
getting-
best trained
learning how to
military in
use
the
this,
world
interface.
in our backyard. What is called? It's called Southern Spare, something like that. And that operation is underway. I want to ask the government of Trinidad and Tobago, that is the backup to this. Did you know that this was to be the outcome of the decisions that you made with the United States? Did you make any decision with them? Did they share any information with you about this operation, which involves nuclear submarine, thousands of Marines, assault capacity for a threatened neighbor, aircraft of leading edge technology, and of course, most importantly, the use of Trinidad and Tobago as a staging ground for this operation? Did you know that? Did you agree to that? Or is it just happening and unfolding that today the Venezuelans could be saying that we are using our country to facilitate an attack on Venezuela?
Troy, do you rather your
How
leader
come
be a
Venezuela
puppet
was
of
never
Maduro
able to
or
say
a puppet
that
of Trump?
when they openly called for
Which
regime
one do
change
you
and
rather
gave
your
Maduro
leader
8 days to
bow
leave
down
office?
to?
How come they weren't able to say that? How come we were still able to go to Caracas and negotiate far-reaching agreements for our future, and to go to Washington and meet the people in Washington who were decision makers? How come? Is it that it just so happens that in the face of the American policy of attacking Venezuela, they just happen to have been on their way to Trinidad anyway? And what
The
is
USA
worse,
is about to do to Trinidad like
now
what they
that
did
we
to
are in
Ukraine.
this situation where military confrontation is a distinct possibility, the government spokesperson in Trinidad and Tobago was saying that, well, the government had
That's
no
how
choice,
gas negotiations are done, Mr.
because
Biggs.
all of this US
Money
presence and
have to
activity in
pass.
Trinidad and Tobago and showing off their hardware in Trinidad and Tobago is something that Rowley signed under the Status of Forces Agreement. I want here this morning, for the benefit of every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, as the former Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago and Chairman of the National Security Council, and the person who sat and spoke with Americans throughout my term, that there's absolutely nothing in the Status of Forces Agreement to permit any commitment from Trinidad and Tobago to breach the UN Charter to intervene military in any of our neighbors or anywhere in the world. Absolutely not so at all. Anybody from the government saying that, it is a lie. There's nothing in any document that I'm aware of which prevents the sovereign government of Trinidad and Tobago from saying yes or no to any request coming from any country if we believe that it jeopardizes our sovereignty or puts our vulnerability to the test. So let's get that very clear. If tomorrow there is a confrontation between Venezuela and the United States, and Trinidad and Tobago is seen to be a participant, big or small, it is entirely as a result of decisions taken and actions taken by the government of Trinidad and Tobago under the UNC, under the leadership of Kamala Persad Bissessa.
Listen
And I
to
want to make
this.
that abundantly clear. Now let me take this population to our vulnerabilities. So we're bad. We're going to war. We want to change the government in Venezuela. You're asking the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, is Maduro the president of Venezuela? She wouldn't answer. That means she has another president. But that shouldn't surprise you, because at an earlier time when this thing started, the UNC was out front supporting President Guaido and calling for sanctions against the country's Prime Minister and the country's Minister of National Security and the country's Minister of Energy.
Yep.
The UNC was out front, lying on a state company, Paria, telling the Americans that Paria was providing fuel to Venezuela on the sly. The UNC was out there asking them to cancel the visas of government ministers of Trinidad and Tobago who were talking to Venezuela. So to not acknowledge the Venezuelan government, that is a fact as put there by the UNC in and out of government. But where does that put the people of Trinidad and Tobago? I told you a while ago that we are entirely dependent on gas for electricity. Well, let me go one step further. That gas that we are entirely dependent on, most of it comes from platforms offshore, just north of Venezuela, 60 miles out.
Which
That's where
will
our
get
platforms
bombed
are.
if we go to war.
I am hoping that it does not come to this. I am hoping and praying that the United States military, the United States government, the United States Parliament stop short of generating a military confrontation through military physical action in our region, namely attacking Trinidad and Tobago's nearest neighbor, friendly neighbor. I am hoping it doesn't come to that. But if it does come to that, what does it mean for the people of Trinidad and Tobago?
I
And the reason
explained
I'm
you guys
asking
that already on the
question
Slimy show.
is because that
All
is a
of your
question
oil
that should have been
infrastructure will get
asked by the
bombed.
government in the first
People
place.
will die.
Before you decide to play Sancho Panza to Don Quixote, you have to figure out where could that lead us. Well, some people believe that it leads us to get gas from Venezuela if there's a new government in Venezuela, and if that government
That is the UNC
is
thinking.
controlled by the Americans, we'll then get all our OFAC license and we'll get access to the gas field and so on and so on. That might be so. But for that to happen, there has to be an outcome from the military effort. Either that the show of force and the presence of Trinidad and Tobago as a staging jumping off point.
He's right, he's right.
And all of that will frighten the Venezuelan government, and the government will run from Venezuela. That is what some people think. I
It's not
saw
going to happen.
persons abroad in authority saying Maduro's days numbered because partly they'll pull a string or they'll give an order and Maduro will leave. I don't know that that is what the outcome is guaranteed to be. On the other hand, if Venezuela is attacked,
He is totally right.
Trinidad and Tobago has made itself a combatant in this matter. Look into today's papers. You see the complaint from Venezuela accusing Trinidad and Tobago of facilitating an attack on its territory. You see the Prime Minister doubling down on offering Trinidad and Tobago to facilitate this, not staying in our lane under the UN Charter, under the CARICOM position of zone of peace. No, as a matter of fact, she has dismissed the whole concept of a zone of peace under the guise that we have crime in our country. There are other Caribbean countries that have crime equal to and more than Trinidad and Tobago, but they are rooted in the zone of peace, because zone of peace is about country to country. It's not about gangs inside your country and who invade whom and who murder who wife. That's not at all. It's either a
Listen and learn, people.
comprehensive misunderstanding of the whole concept of zone of peace, or you're playing smart with foolishness. The Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago has been reckless in taking that position of dismissing our decades-old position of preserving our region as a zone of peace, where we object to nuclear weapons passing through. So nuclear rods passing through to go to the reprocessing. We object to that because we said we don't want to be part of the nuclear age because we cannot protect ourselves from accidents or from violence involving nuclear. So come back to the gas. Here you had a government making huge headway in getting access from Venezuelan gas 17 kilometers from our hibiscus platform. First time ever Venezuela agreed to sell its gas in that way.
Listen to this part, Mr. Biggs. This answers your question.
Operations through Shell, where Venezuela agreed to cancel the unitization approach of 15 years and allow Trinidad and Tobago, with Shell as the operator, to go into the Loran Manatee field and extract our Manatee 27%. A government, a PNM government, that got agreement from Venezuela to let BP go to Coquina, Manikin. That's what the PNM government had in place. The UNC comes in and puts this in place for you. Let me tell you what's in place now. And I hope to God it doesn't happen, because I gave my life, my working life to this country. This is my children's country, my grandchildren's country, and I don't want it hurt. But let me tell you what the likelihood is going to be. If Venezuela is attacked, and the people of Trinidad and Tobago must know that, because this is not carnival, this is not a joke. It's all well and good for the Prime Minister to stay home and hide and talk stupidness through buffoons. But our life is involved here now, because Venezuela is taking the position that Trinidad and Tobago is using its territory voluntarily to facilitate an attack on Venezuela. War nowadays is not a set of men run up with knife, bayonet on the end, and who have more bayonet and who been stronger, and like World War I. You don't have that.
Please,
it's
not even
like World War
II.
This is 21, 25, the 21st century. War now is you stay hundreds of miles away and you fire missiles that are accurate to within a few meters away the land. War nowadays is fought where you send 500 drones at a target. And I see in Europe, civilian targets are fair game. That's our world today. We are dependent on gas from platforms 60 miles out there.
Has exposed the country, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, to war,
we don't have a Coast Guard that could even stand out there.
Time for you supporters to start waking up.
To hail anybody who's coming at us. That's a vulnerability of the worst kind. And if that becomes part of the proceedings, not by missiles being fired at us, not by bombs being fired at us, but just by a credible threat to those platforms, Trinidad and Tobago is now in a current against which we cannot swim. Because if a threat like that comes to us, a credible threat, that those platforms are in fact legitimate targets, those international companies will do one thing. They'll remove their staff from the platform. And once the staff comes off the platform, most of those platforms are manned. Once they come off the platform, it shuts down the gas supply to Trinidad and Tobago.
Are you paying attention?
It shuts down the Atlantic LNG plant, and it shuts down every factory in Trinidad and Tobago, because it would have shut down TNT.
I told you people this on the Slimy show. Now the Prime Minister of the country, the ex-Prime Minister, is coming and tell you the same thing that I told you before.
What the hell are we doing?
Slimy was talking shit.
Engaging ourselves and encouraging military action against our friendly neighbors, nearest friendly neighbor, even if we happen to agree with what America is doing and so on. Where did you see Trinidad and Tobago's interests? Can you genuinely say that Trinidad and Tobago has made provision to protect itself from an attacked Venezuela? If Venezuela finds itself under attack from the United States, assisted by Trinidad and Tobago, does that not make Trinidad and Tobago a legitimate target? Or have you come to the conclusion that, man, they ain't going to do nothing? Is that so? You have jumped in this high-stake geopolitical issue, and you've taken a position as a combatant. I can tell you,
Do you understand that?
this blew up, there were people who wanted to come and visit us with their military hardware, not the United States. But we knew what it would mean. And we said, no, your vessel is not welcome at this time. You wouldn't know that. The news didn't know that. We handle these things on diplomatic paper in confidentiality. That's how it's done. Who rake up this woman to go and tell the world that if America, having declared drug dealers as narco-terrorists, not narco-traffickers, they're narco-terrorists, and once they use the word terrorists, they are now authorized to use military against it. And that was the plan.
Troy Smith,
Because the
stop
plan is
talking
regime
shit.
change.
Stop being an idiot in the chat, Mr. Troy Smith.
Because if they manage to kill every narco trafficker in Venezuela, the objective still remains. As a matter of fact, I was listening to the American president last night, this evening.
You see, it's idiots like you
Answering
is
questions
why the
from the
country is in a
American
mess right now,
And
Mr.
they
Troy
raised this
Smith.
same issue
Instead of focusing
about
on the fucking message, instead of
the
focusing on what
military
is
being out
happening
there
around you,
on the
you want to
verge
come in here and
of
talk shit.
military
Your
action
country
against
is
Venezuela
basically about
for
to be at
narco
war, and your prime minister
And
is
they
doing a
pointed out
live
that,
to fucking
you know,
alert you
maybe
to this
that
shit.
the
And this is the
hammer to
nonsense
kill
you
the
want to
fly
come in the chat
is
and
not
talk.
selling.
You
The
UNC
president said,
supporters are some of
not
the
only-
dumbest trainees
it's also
ever met in my life.
later,
I swear to God.
We are down there also because Venezuela is a bad country. They opened their jails and their mental institutions and sent 25 million people, mad people and criminals, to America. And that is why the American military is here, to put an end to what Venezuela has done. And my prime minister is there saying on my behalf, go full speed ahead. I support your policy and you can count on us. My question today to the government of Trinidad and Tobago, what preparations have you made to protect us in the event that your offer is taken up or that Venezuela is attacked and Venezuela sees us as they have said they see us, as a combatant in a military intervention against their territory? And Venezuela has given you their reasons as to why they are in this situation. I don't have to spell it out for you. The government of Trinidad and Tobago has a lot of questions to answer to the people of Trinidad and Tobago because we are at risk. We are at grave risk. And it's not even that.
The
you know,
prime
not even
minister,
that.
the ex-prime minister of Trinidad is coming
What
on and
protection
telling you
do we
the
have
same
from a
shit
cyber
I've been
attack?
telling you for a whole fucking month.
Who's going to protect us?
He is telling you the
Is it that
exact
we have
same
now
shit. The whole,
laid
remember
down
the
prostrate
stream I did about
in
targetless and
front
how
of
all
somebody
of
and
the
say,
energy
surrender
infrastructure
to
of
you,
Trinidad
protect
is
us from
going
all
to become
evil.
military targets
That is all
if
foreign
we go
policy.
to war with Venezuela. That all those
That
military
America will
drills that they've
protect
been
us
doing
from all these
with people jumping
possibilities?
out of planes. Didn't I tell you guys that's
Do
all
we
for
as a government, as a
Trinidad?
people genuinely believe
Now
that
you're now
those
you want to
platforms
wake
out
up
there,
now, right?
that the Americans will remain there with their submarine and the aircraft carrier and their planes and the helicopters to protect us from Venezuela for the next month, the next year? Because these things have a way of going on for years. Because when I went to the UN, when regime change had 8 days to go, that was 2018. Takes years. Governments come and governments go in America and in Trinidad and Tobago. What should guide us is what has happened outside of the zone of peace of the Caribbean. See how wars have been fought out there. See how wars are being fought out there. And see what the possibility in the event of a conflagration here, what is in the making. Our Prime Minister must be the only person in the world led by her group that the people elected, that I accept as the
So
government of
Troy,
Trinidad
if you
and
want to
Tobago,
learn,
who
come in here and
believe
ask legitimate
that
questions,
all
not
of
the
this
dumb
danger
shit that you
we've
was
been
doing
put in
before.
has something to do with fighting drugs, fighting drug dealers. Because if that is the case, an end might be in sight.
Troy, do you
And then
understand
this
that people
insight,
are about to die? Do you understand
you
that,
think you
that
bring
your fellow citizens
the
are
most
about to die?
powerful
That
war
basically that is
machine
what this
ever in
all
the history
amounts
of
to. If a bomb
mankind,
drops, people
to
die.
Gerald Ford.
This is
You
the
think you
like
bring that to
some of the
a
most
theater
serious shit that you've
for
ever
show,
discussed in any
or
in any
because
Trinidad history
somebody sell
happening
a
here right
carton
now.
of drugs and saying that, well, what we were doing has failed? It's the same thing saying we were following law and law has failed. So now we must use lawlessness. That's what they're saying. That's what our prime minister is saying. They have said that what we were doing before, you know, they're trying to give you the impression that it is something that they have done, that something that's happening, where we have American servicemen are in Trinidad and Tobago training with our. That has always been in place. Always been in place. As a matter of fact, Southcom, which is the United States headquarters for military action and activity in the Southern Hemisphere, is based in Miami. We have an officer stationed there. We change people there all the time. The training, the polygraphing, the sharing of information between the SSA, and we have that in place. You may recall one of the largest drug hauls happened off the coast of Portugal a few years ago. The shipment was loaded here in Carenage. And Trinidad and Tobago authorities, we, in conjunction with our European partners in the United States, we watched it all the way across the Atlantic in the international ocean until it got into the territorial waters of a European nation, and the ship was arrested there and the traffickers were arrested out there. The US Coast Guard, in collaboration with Caribbean nations, Coast Guard and other military, we share information with the Dutch, the French, the Germans, and the Canadians and the Americans. We are all in this together, fighting those who will poison our population. It was never a question of who have more might, declare war on who they believe they don't like. It was never that. Trinidad and Tobago has sold its pig in a bad market. And right now, we are just hoping for the best. And today, I call on the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago to come before the country. Tell us what you have done. Tell us what you have agreed to. Tell us why you have abandoned what has worked. And tell us what protection you have in place for the people of Trinidad and Tobago in the event that there is physical confrontation between Venezuela and the United States. And as a citizen I'm a lifelong member of the PNM, a party formed by Eric Williams in Trinidad and Tobago. I take the position that we are friends of all and satellite of none. To have made our nation a vassal state in this situation is absolutely unacceptable to me, and I expect it will be unacceptable to the PNM and all right-thinking citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. I hope for the best. But this is not the time to have an absentee prime minister sending you tweets of nonsense and lies, and ministers. The Attorney General had a press conference last week, giving the impression that he understands what is going on. And he knows that something is going to happen, but he's not saying. What does he know that he's not sharing with you? And why the Attorney General is the spokesperson for this situation? This is a matter for the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Nobody else. Nobody else. And if the Prime Minister finds that it is too prickly or too hot to handle, that should tell you all how deep in trouble we are, because it can only get worse. It didn't have to be this. Trinidad and Tobago had a protected position, and the UNC gave it up for something else. What that something else is, we don't know. Because if it never comes to regime change, what the outcome would be is that we would have created enmity in Venezuela, which threatens everything that we had in place to give us a future in the hydrocarbon business. Is that. If it comes to military action, what happens to us is as a result of what the Venezuelans do in response to the attack on them. Trinidad and Tobago is a tiny Caribbean nation in comparison to Cuba and Haiti and Santo Domingo and Jamaica. We are tiny. We are an island in the mouth of the Orinoco River. The Orinoco River runs out of Venezuela to us. We are surrounded by Venezuela land and sea. And if that is our position, it is even worse, where our lifeline, our heartbeat is out there in the ocean, exposed not only to nature, but to a nation that believes that we are encouraging an attack on their territory, or that we have done so, and in the event of a confrontation, they will see us as a combatant. And that remains with the UNC. Today, as a former Prime Minister, I call on the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago to cease and desist from exposing the future of our children and our grandchildren. I'm in a unique position. I'll tell you why. As Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, this issue came to me early in my tenure. And having to deal with all that I've said to you here this morning, I set out to make sure that I understood it and I dealt with those who are the players in it. I have sat down with the President of the United States. I have sat down with the President of China. I have sat down with the President of Iran. I have sat down with the Prime Minister of Canada. I have sat down with the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. I sat down with the President of Uruguay. And I maintain a foreign policy where my Minister Brown and Minister Moses, have carried a lot of it. And we understand it. The PNM understands it. And that is why today, when I see neophytes playing Bajan and putting Trinidad and Tobago at risk, I ask myself, who have they interacted with? What have they read? What do they understand of this situation other than what they might have heard on the news? So we just jumping along, hoping that if rain falls, we'll walk through the raindrops. That's where we are right now. The government of Trinidad and Tobago has given up all our protection and has taken a position of military outcome that is dangerous to Trinidad and Tobago, dangerous beyond comprehension. That is the issue in front of us today. And that is what should be the narrative of this country today. That is what should be the conversation in this country today, whither goes Trinidad and Tobago in the event that Washington decides to attack Venezuela. Because Trinidad and Tobago has played a role already and put itself in a position in that matter. And it's not a good position. The second thing I want to mention very briefly, I want to alert the population to what is likely to happen. I see the government talking about reopening the refinery. We will be very happy if the refinery is reopened because we all want it to be reopened in operation. But as they speak about reopening the refinery, the conversation is very hush-hush. Nobody has said to us that they found somebody with a supply of crude. I want to let the population of Trinidad and Tobago be reminded the PNM government did not shut down the refinery because we didn't like Roger, or we didn't like the OWTU, or we didn't like refineries in general. It is the PNM that bought that refinery from Texaco. It is the PNM that kept it alive as our economic
I gave you all that
well-being.
class already. I told you all that.
So don't talk nonsense.
Everything
about the
he is
PNM
saying, I
shutdown
told
the
you guys a
refinery,
month ago.
because
This is
some
not
other,
new for Slimy
you hear
Show
all
viewers.
kind
This
of
is not new
nonsense
information. You've heard
that
all of this from me already.
fake oil and Rowley didn't want his partner Bash to get in trouble, so he shut down the refinery. That is the kind of nonsense that came from the Prime Minister in office today. That was the opposition story. We shut down the refinery because our local oil production was too low. We were buying oil to refine it. We were buying it at 100,000 barrels per day. It had to be paid for on many instances from the Treasury. And that is why today, as I speak to you, the Treasury is still servicing over 400 million US dollars from the Treasury that went to buy oil to be refined, and we were losing money by the billions of dollars. Those are the facts. So if we do not see in the statements coming to us from the government a credible supply of oil to make the refinery opening viable commercially, what you will be seeing is the government of the UNC attempting to attach Paria to the refinery as a project for reopening, where whoever gets that refinery or that arrangement, they get Paria. When we restructured Petrotrin, we created Paria as a state company, standalone state company, that bought and sold refined fuel, and therefore we gave them the local market and the regional market.
My God.
This is the same UNC that created Section 34. It's the same UNC that created SIS as the biggest company in Trinidad and Tobago in government contracts. Paria attached to some intention to reopen the refinery is not sufficient for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Because what they are planning to do is to attach Paria to Guaracaria, give you that package, and everybody will be happy and hail. Long time we should have do this. We want the refinery opened. And then once they do that, whoever is the commercial financier of that will very soon, without a supply of oil, shut off interest in the refinery and ball it again, if it ever is open at all. And they then end up with Paria. And Paria is a business that makes over $100 or even $200 million profit for the state. So the state loses that. But whoever gets it, they get the business of the local market supplying NP, and they get the business of buying and selling to the Caribbean region, what Paria is doing now.
Do you understand what's happening here?
I want the population to understand that.
Do you understand this?
You have given these people the option to do that, and they are actively preparing to do it. And I'm telling it up front so that you will know if it happens, or to let them know that we know what they're doing, and ask them to turn their gaze somewhere else. Because when the fuel supply in this country falls into private hands,
it's a wrap.
And the owners of the supply are the ones who will determine the price that you pay for fuel.
We will be like Haiti.
Then you will know where barley grew.
Yep, listen to this.
$1 off is quite okay, takes the pressure off some people. But that was part of our policy to reduce the subsidies that was suffocating the country. When you go to the IMF, as we are heading to the IMF, when we get there, as we will, that becomes another matter. But in the meantime, if Paria is allowed to fall into private or quasi-private hands, that is the outcome that's going to be. And the last point I want to make is on the question of the government's silence on what is happening at FCB. And I tell you that because I was there at the birth of FCB. FCB is one of the children of the PNM, created as a bank when other attempts at banking had failed. FCB was created by the PNM on a morning when NCB and Workers Bank failed, and the government had to intervene, and we bought We took Workers Bank, we took NCB, and we took the penny bank money, and we created FCB. FCB has now become one of the outstanding successes in the public sector, in the state enterprise sector, and in Trinidad and Tobago. The one statement that has come from the government so far relating to FCB is that they've appointed a chairman who they've also appointed as chairman of UDICOT. And he made a statement that in the face of some explosion in contracting that is to come, where we're going to build Dubai in Trinidad, that FCB and UDICOT will be the operating agencies and will fund this. I want to caution the country. I'm a geologist, if you will remember that, right? And in geology, there's a principle called uniformitarianism. The big word, but it's very simple. It means if something happened before, it is likely to happen again. The UNC came into office and they sold the first set of shares at FCB, at IPO. Total scandal, total fiasco, resulting in a member of parliament having to resign from the parliament in the Senate. Shareholding that was blocked for the workers end up in the pocket of one individual.
Oh my God, do you guys understand what's happening
And the
here?
chairman had to, the chairman was forced out in a public meeting, AGM of FCB. That is the UNC's record on FCB. Today, you're hearing from the government that FCB is to be the funder of this fancy. The shares of FCB has fallen from $42 to $31. You would have seen Anthony Wilson had a very brilliant article the other day in The Guardian, I think it was, on this issue. And that is an issue that must attract the attention of the government, because the government retains the majority shareholding, express an intention to sell more shares in FCB, and the shares are so collapsed as a result of some misbehavior of the government when they try to fire the leadership. But more importantly, who is driving down the shares of FCB when the bank's performance does not warrant that? I'm asking that question today. And I'm asking the government to tell the population, people who have bought shares in FCB, who see their worth plummeting, and the government offering
I told
to
you guys
sell more
about
shares.
this last week with the stock
Question.
market in Trinidad.
Will the government sell those shares when the market has so devalued the asset? And what is the government
If you're a
doing
Slimy Show viewer, you know all this
to
already.
return confidence
I spoke about this
to
2
the
weeks
people
ago.
of this country, the investing population, who would want their shares to return and to improve? The investing population, who would know that if FCB and UDICOT is to play this conflicted role in that program that they put out the other day, that if you are a shareholder, you are concerned about the shares you bought in FCB. And finally, how does the government intend to manage that, where FCB, like other local banks, are already deeply engaged in financing government operations? These are the issues in Trinidad and Tobago that are not being dealt with. To the extent that anything is coming to us from the government, it is, hey, diddle, diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jump over the moon. That's what we're getting from them. Right? But the serious stories, Prime Minister in hiding and nobody's answering. And the outcome could be quite disastrous for Trinidad and Tobago. Quite disastrous. Our two main banks, they were doing well until this government started to operate. Both banks are now under pressure, largely because of the government's behavior. I could speak like this because I came into office.
This is so depressing.
And I met a former NAR Attorney General as the chairman of FCB. And we reappointed him over and over, and he did yeoman service, and he kept that confidence in that bank, and the bank grew and grew and grew under his stewardship, because we were quite happy. If Anthony Smart was the best chairman for FCB, then he has the position. I came into office and had to appoint a chairman of NP. And I appointed a chairman who was a UNC member of parliament. And he served without fuss and without more, running MP until last election day, when every chairman was threatened, get out, get out, get out. And today, we have in government, clearly, people who are putting our well-being at risk. That's what it is. The last thing I want to say is this. I'm a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. I was Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. I retired from the office and the post of Prime Minister. I have not retired from being a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, and I have not retired from public discourse. I would love to have done so, but I have not done so. If you have a few questions, I'll take a few questions now.
Dr. Rowley, just reading an article from Reuters, which is being carried in by other international media outlets. President Trump said on Sunday that the United States may open talks with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, who faces escalating pressure from Washington amid a massive U.S. military buildup in the Caribbean. And there's a quote from President Trump. The quote is, "We may be having some discussions with Maduro, and we'll see how that turns out." That is what President Trump, the quotas having said. And he says that they, I guess, the Maduro regime or Maduro government, would like to talk. Any response?
Well, if it turns out that the difficulties are settled by talks, I would be the happiest person, and it would be the best thing for Trinidad and Tobago. That is what the zone of peace says. That if there are difficulties of any kind, that you deal with it by dialogue. Okay? But I just want to tell you, the source that you're quoting there, the statement that you're quoting there, up until 24 hours ago, the President of the United States was telling Republican members, do not vote for the discharge petition in the Epstein matter, right? People were literally cornered and threatened as to how they should vote. Just before I started here, I saw on my television where the same president tell all the Republicans to vote for the Epstein discharge petition. Understand? What is said is not what is said we're going to rely on, it's what is done. And we hope that what is done is what is said.
You expressed us very specific concerns with regard to now you have the U.S. carrier group in the region and so on, and all of the possibilities you have outlined that could happen if there is military conflict between the U.S. and Venezuela and how it impacts Trinidad and Tobago. In your discussions with the U.S. government when you were Prime Minister, was there any specific position being outlined by the government at the time, when you were speaking with them, the U.S. government that is, that they had this particular objective of military action, regime change, or anything of that nature?
Of course, because the requirement for regime change as a solution to people who had an issue with Venezuelan elections was public. That is why the European Union had said 8 days or else. That is why Canada had said time for talk done. And in that meeting, my question was to Canada, time for what? If time for talk done, then what time is it now for what? We didn't expect Canada to be a belligerent. We expected sound, judgment and support for the UN on this matter. And we had a lot of conversations with a lot of people in the United States. And we discussed, many people agreed with us. Let's take the Republicans, because we spoke with a number of Republicans. Many of them are from states with large agricultural holdings. And they had a special interest. But when we talked to them, We spoke to them about our position as a supplier of ammonia and other fertilizers, right? They have an interest in that, right? Because fertilizer is key in their economy. And when we told them about having spare capacity to produce more ammonia, that is what they were interested in with us. So we got them on board with that. And that is why they started to speak for us and with us, saying, let us get Trinidad and Tobago the gas, because we couldn't produce any more without more gas. And we spoke with the Democrats. I could tell you there was one Democrat who was resolutely opposed to doing anything whatsoever except expelling Maduro, on the grounds that they had, after the Barbados meeting, Maduro had agreed to do certain things and he didn't do it, and therefore expulsion from office is the outcome. And we kept saying, don't abandon the principle of dialogue, right? Even if you're angry about that, let us stay the course, right? What we have here now is an about turn to that position of that Democrat, who is a very interesting one. You might know who the person is, because he didn't want to hear anything. And then, of course, as fate would have it, Trinidad and Tobago people must know what is happening in America, because we have so much of an interest there. It is our major trading partner. But we will only have a trading partner if we have something to trade. If we end up without gas, we will not have petrochemicals to trade. We will not have LNG to trade. So America being our trading partner is linked to the fact that we have to have something to trade, and that something is gas. Unfortunately, we have a current Secretary of State. We know him very well. He was a candidate for elections of presidency before. He's well known to us. He's from the southern part of the United States, in Miami. We know the American politics of Florida and what it means for Cuba and Nicaragua and Venezuela and so on. We know that. So I am not surprised at the position of the Secretary of State, who wants to get certain things done that may have certain repercussions or benefits going down. We have to understand these things. And that's why I am shocked at the behavior of the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, who acted as someone who came from Mars, woke up from sleep, and was told to go and run 100 meters. Trinidad and Tobago was well positioned in this matter because it was all about patience. We, in fact, had access to the Speaker of the House. We had access to chairmen of committees, foreign committees, national security committees. As a matter of fact, when we closed this country for COVID in March of 2020, a few days later, had we not closed the country and COVID, a delegation, bipartisan delegation, was due to arrive in Trinidad and Tobago to spend 4 days. That had to be cancelled because we were closing our borders for COVID. So we've been there. But when we sat down to talk to the president of China, we understand China's position vis-a-vis Venezuela. Venezuela is not a little Caribbean island. Venezuela is a country with 30 million people and very powerful friends. That's another situation we say, we can just overrun you and take over your oil and give it to Trinidad and Tobago. Who can you sell that to? You all remember, you all are too young. I grew up in the age of the Vietnam War. And I was, as a student in school, I read everything that came to us. We didn't have cell phones and WhatsApp and so on. You had to read. And everything that came to you, every magazine, every this, every that, you can hear the news. If today, as you look at the history of what happened in Vietnam and how Vietnam came into being and what it was and so on, you must, when you go home, go and read about that incident called the Gulf of Tonkin. Something happened in the Gulf of Tonkin with Vietnam. Millions of lives were lost as a result of an incident. Suppose there's an incident in the Caribbean Ocean now, in the Caribbean Sea or around us now, an incident. Right? You ever heard of something called a false flag? We are at that stage.
He's talking
now,
about
where
false
that's the
flag
kind of
attacks.
thing that
I've
can
taught you
come
guys
forward.
all about that here already.
Who said what, who did what, and what are the consequences? How do you respond to it? As a Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, we don't have the luxury of abandoning our neutrality. That's a singular point I want to make. And the UNC and the Prime Minister of the UNC, they have sacrificed our neutrality in matters of this nature. And they put us in a very, very vulnerable position. So vulnerable that if it comes to a shooting war off our coast, we are defenseless. And our economy is defenseless.
Dr. Roy, you spoke about what you said was not in the Armed Forces Agreement with the U.S. that was been signed or yes, renewed under the administration. Are you able to say anything about what would have been agreed to at that point in time?
It's a cooperation agreement. And our teams, the U.S. military, Trinidad and Tobago military, we cooperate to be the best to serve our populations. It had nothing to do with fighting anybody else.
Dr. Rowley, during Polo Guardian Media, you said that nothing in the SOFA agreement would have permitted Trinidad and Tobago participating in regime change in Venezuela.
To not say no to it.
Right. But does it facilitate troops coming here and establishing a military base?
We have made no provision for any military base in Trinidad and Tobago as I'm aware of. And troops coming here without a military base, American servicemen have been coming here on a regular basis, treating. You may recall during COVID that one of the American, when vaccines couldn't be had, we couldn't buy a vaccine. The first vaccines that came into this country from AstraZeneca, I think
I don't want to hear this bullshit about the fucking vaccines
that were available in America. We couldn't get any. And some Pfizer vaccines came to this country.
I don't want to hear nothing about these vaccines.
And they were given.
This was a stain on his government, this
the
vaccine
Defense
shit.
Force. A UNC spokesperson went out and said that I had taken it and my family got it and the PNM, usual bacchanal story. But those vaccines came in from a US department, military, and they were for the purpose of their colleagues in the Defense Force. That is the nature of the relationship that existed between us.
So the Defense Force got poisoned first. This is not something to be proud of, Mr. Rowley. This is a stain on Trinidad with that vaccine situation.
So American forces coming here is nothing new. But if at the time when America is threatening to invade Venezuela and to destroy Venezuela, the Americans ask us to do certain things, it falls within our sovereignty to say that is not in our interest and decline that. And the Americans would have understood it.
But do you think that given what has happened with this situation, the military operation in American Eastern here and so on, do you think, looking back on it, we should have been more cautious? Because at the time that we signed the agreement, the last signing of the agreement in December 2024, there was the tensions between America and Venezuela were very much alive. In fact, that was the problem we were facing with getting the Dragon deal executed. So that to have taken the position then, as we did in a press conference, and say that it has nothing to do with the conflict with Venezuela, was that not a very sort of naive position to take, given what was unfolding?
No, because the status of forces is not One, it does not prevent the government of Trinidad and Tobago from exercising its full sovereignty. Secondly, the content of what is to be done to satisfy the status of forces has nothing to do with whether America wants a base in Trinidad and Tobago or any commitment so to supply. That was when that story came up in 2024. I was very clear. I seem to recall speaking to the media on it, that you are misrepresenting something. Yes, we have so far. We've renewed it because it's worth renewing. It goes back to 2007, I think it was, right? And what was good in 2008, 2009, 2010, we've seen the need to do a little tweak, with a little tweak here, but it does not give any, we don't give up any ground of our sovereignty. We don't agree to do things that are unlawful. No. So when that was being said that this SOFA is for an American base in Trinidad and Tobago, we had to correct it.
But it was said that the agreement was updated to align with new security needs.
Well, what are the new security needs? At the same time, we were looking to the Americans for some specific equipment, right? And specific training. I personally led a group here to the United States to get their cyber people, to know our cyber people, and to build up our cyber capacity because we were virtually naked. And in doing that, there is a benefit for Trinidad and Tobago and a benefit for the United States.
I know that for a fact because I could have hacked the Trinidad and Tobago government a couple of years ago. The security was that bad.
To you as well. Our economic
and I was actually planning on doing it. I ain't gonna lie. Bad.
Because if our economy collapses, you are going to have some negative fallout coming your way. So renewing SOFA in 2024 created no condition that allowed us to not be able to take a position of our best interest if the United States decides to bring a task force and assault Venezuela. That's not in SOFA. And we're not the only country where there's a state of force agreement. That's a standard agreement between countries where you have a relationship between your militaries. And I said, we do have a relationship and that relationship must continue. But that does not allow the government to go out there and drink bush tea and don't know the taste. Nobody could tell us that this happened. The American policy position that is happening now is as a result of having got a status of forces agreement with Trinidad and Tobago. If that is so, how then did they take that position in 2018? For regime change and regime change now. How come? It was done then when SOFA was in place. And at the time, the point in it, Maria, when we signed that agreement, show me where Venezuela said, as a result of the oil signing a SOFA with America, we now feel threatened and we are going to do this and we're going to do that. Tell me, did Venezuela react in that way? No, because Venezuela understood what SOFA is and did not feel any fear that Trinidad and Tobago was being facilitatory of an assault on Venezuela. And that's the way you have the understanding of it. If it was in fact a clear encouragement to the United States to use Trinidad and Tobago, then Venezuela would have objected. I am not aware that there was anything from Venezuela in response to our signing of the SOFA in 2024, because it was not meant to facilitate military action against Venezuela. So that is not part of the conversation now. People are trying to use it to explain what they have done, and I am objecting to that. Okay?
Just wondering, when you speak as former Prime Minister, as you said you're not retired as a citizen.
I'm not only former Prime Minister. I speak as former Prime Minister who is prepared to protect the government that he led and the record of his tenure and the cabinet that he led.
Just, for that, but just to get clarification, when you speak, do you think that in any way takes away from the presence or the strength of any position outlined by the opposition leader, the leader of the party to which you still belong?
No, as long as we're saying the same thing. If we're saying different things, well then you will have a problem. And if we're saying different things, it might be from different perspectives. I don't have to agree with everything that the PNM is doing in opposition now. And if they're going to government, I don't have to agree with everything they've done. I could see that they're doing something wrong and say so. But I am a life member of the PNM. The record will show that I served as Prime Minister with PNM membership, putting me in that office. The cabinet that I led was a PNM cabinet. And the fact that I'm not in office as Prime Minister doesn't make me any less PNM. And anybody who's prepared to challenge the record of the PNM government from 2015 September to the time I left office, expect that I will set the record straight if the record is being distorted.
Dr. Rowley, this may be your third media conference from this office, addressing us as a former Prime Minister. I wonder, to piggyback off of Joe's question, why not have this conversation via the office, the actual office of the opposition, or from the People's National Movement Balizé House?
Because I don't want to operate as a functionary of the party at Balizé House or as an office holder. I want to operate separate and apart from, and it just so happens that I have the same issues that they have in the opposition, except that I am responsible for that cabinet that you're talking about. And I hope and I expect, and I've seen ministers of my cabinet taking issue, defending the stewardship of the cabinet or raising issues pertinent to how the cabinet functioned in public interest when we work together. Right? So that's how it goes. So I don't want to be influenced by, I'm not an echo chamber for the opposition members, right? Because I don't want to put myself in that position where everything they do, I have to agree with. Because a lot of what they have done, I may not agree with in matters of party. But that's for another day.
Can I just get back to SOFA? The fact is that SOFA mentioned narcotics and organized crime, transatlantic organized crime. And therefore, that is the language that the US government is using, as well as our own government, to allow them to be operating in this sphere.
There's no real, I understand what you're saying. There's no language that says that in your fight or your cooperation with states in the question of narcotics trafficking or human trafficking, that you are allowed to operate lawlessly. There's no language that says that. It might have been their intention to use it as cover for what they want to do, because I told you early on in this conversation that their objective is regime change.
Yeah, but did you not see that that could be used as a pretext?
But we cannot and we should not resile from cooperating with the United States in the fight against drug trafficking. There's no language, and I'm not taking a position that that is an objective that we should be against. I am saying that in doing so, with other ulterior motives and acting illegally under the guise of something called narco-terrorism, right? You're not fooling me. That's your policy, fine. That's your description, fine. That language there, you show me anywhere in that sofa where it then says, as a result of this and our agreement, that now the law doesn't matter. To the point where you can have a minister, a local minister here saying that, well, basically, they didn't kill no fishermen, so if they kill anybody else, it doesn't matter. And the law doesn't apply, and due process doesn't apply, and international law doesn't apply. From day one, in response to the regime change approach, CARICOM stood as a bulwark against it. And in talking to Venezuela about gas for Trinidad and Tobago, it wasn't only CARICOM. When I had to meet with the United States Vice President to gel this matter, I took with me the President of Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. And two of the loudest voices that supported us in trying to get that carve out our OFAC license was the President of Guyana and the Prime Minister of Antigua. It was a CARICOM effort, right? It was a CARIFORUM effort. So where is this story coming from now suddenly that these things don't matter? Don't matter to the point where it can be said, we're not interested in the gas in Venezuela. And I'm saying to you, we're not only interested, we're dependent on it for our future. Because if we don't find gas in the not too distant future, we will have to start to cut back on our production to leave enough gas in the ground to keep TNTech going for a number of years. I mean, the tomfoolery is so far-reaching. I see the current government taking credit for the Exxon arrangement out in Block 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 23. I see them taking credit for that because Exxon has come. It is the PNM that brought Exxon into that situation after we had the tender process and nobody put in bids in the bid round for those blocks ever. Exxon suggested that, well, since nobody has put it in, would you talk to us about it? We went to cabinet. Cabinet gave the minister the authority to talk to Exxon because we didn't get any bids and we desperate for gas. Everybody, and if Exxon is now saying they're interested in the ultra deep, bid round or no bid round, let's talk to them. And that is how cabinet approved that Exxon we amalgamate all those blocks, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and let Exxon have them because it's a narrow triangle, it's the top of the triangle, it's a narrow piece of land where our external offshore acreage come to an end between Barbados and Venezuela. It comes like a triangle like that. It gets narrow as you go to block 23, right? Block 23 is one block. 22 and 21, there are 2 blocks, then 3 blocks, the triangle going out there. And because of that, we said it's better to have one person having the whole thing, and we even have Barbados agreeing that when you do the seismic work, you don't get stuck with the border because it's that narrow, right? And put one person out there, and if the person is Exxon, good, because Exxon has the experience in the ultra deep. We got everything done, Exxon came on board, we had an election, the government changed. They met the ministry completing the production sharing contracts. I see big press conference and they're taking credit for the fastest production sharing contract ever negotiated, and Exxon going to do this and Exxon going to do that. That is the work of the PNM, because the PNM is mortally afraid of Trinidad and Tobago running out of gas.
Dr. Rowley, you said, you're a citizen and you painted a possibly very bleak future for us.
What did you said?
No, but I'm acknowledging that you're reminding us, the population, that you're not just a former prime minister, you're a citizen with a vested interest here. You have your grandchildren, your children here, your family here, and you don't want to see our country hurt. But given this potential bleak future, our possible inability to generate or produce electricity based on our refuels, possibly you spoke about missiles or vulnerable platforms, drones, this kind of thing. My question is, considering the state that the country is in right now, do you feel any regret stepping down when you did?
No. I don't feel indispensable. I have absolutely no regrets. As a matter of fact, I am quite happy that I was able to serve to the point where I could have stopped serving, and then I continue to have a life of some kind. It's never a question of I should have stayed there. It would have made no difference if the Americans really want to go into Venezuela. The difference would have been what position Trinidad and Tobago would have taken. That would have been the only difference. And I'm pretty sure it would have been a difference where we were not in a situation where we would have been seen to be a target. Thank you very much.
I want to piggyback a little on that question. When you announced the press conference, and a lot of comments on Facebook about your use of the term the office of the former prime minister. There was quite frankly, there was a lot of derision.
I could have said,
Came up with this
I,
office that nobody ever.
no, it's my office. It's my office. They don't have to know about it. I could have said the living room of the prime minister.
But, so, prime minister.
Yeah, I could have said that.
So, but is it? I mean, it's not any. So.
I'm doing some. No, that's all right. I'm doing some work there. Working at the offices downstairs. I'm doing some work there.
So, is it an official title you intend to adopt?
Oh, you mean the former prime minister? I can't change that. That is history. Yeah, well, yeah, because I have an office there. Yes, I have an office there. I have an office there. As a matter of fact, a lot of what I said here today, I'm writing at the moment because I have taken the position that notwithstanding all what might or might not have happened, it is important for the population to know what decisions were made, why they were made, how they were made, and who they were made with. That, I think that's a valuable thing for the country, and I'm currently putting that together so at some time in the not too distant future I'll be able to put it in the public domain, the record of the tenure that I came into this office of Prime Minister. It was a very, very interesting period. Some of the hardest decisions to take in this country were taken in my time. We had pandemic, we had gas collapse to $0.0 a barrel for oil, we had to restructure LNG, we had to keep every public servant in the job, right? We had COVID, so I think I owe it to the citizens of this country. I might not owe it to those who think that they know everything already and that maybe I should just go and jump over a cliff. But I think there are enough people, and I could tell you, a lot of people reach out to me asking for answers to questions that I'm choosing not to answer in the public domain. But I think if I put it on paper, they can find the answer there and they can understand what has happened. That's how history works for you. I read Dr. Williams's work. I read analyses of what happened with George Chambers. I was there with Basdio Pandey. I was there with A.N.R. Robinson. So I think we have to behave a little differently and benefit from that. And nobody is going to prevent me from having a say in this country if I choose to have one. Right? So, office of the former prime minister, don't let it bother you. I do have an office.
Are you hear me now? So I was talking for 5 minutes and no one heard what I said. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right, let's start all over again. Hey guys, welcome to the Slimy Show. We had an emergency broadcast from Mr. Keith Christopher Rowley. I would like to apologize for the technical difficulties we had at the start. I did not receive the link in time. I was set up ready to go on my end, but Renison on his end did not provide me the stream link. And when he did send me the stream link, it was a Facebook link. And Facebook and OBS don't work hand in hand. You know, you got to log in and do all that crap. But eventually I got it all situated. This was an emergency press conference by Mr. Rowley, and if you listen to everything he said, it should really have scared the piss out of you, because me just waking up out of my bed and hearing this man talk about war and talk about military targets and talk about Trinidad going to get bombed, you know. Actually, this is stuff, if you're a Slimy Show viewer, you should know all of this, because I've been talking about this for the past months on what is going to happen to Trinidad if there is to be a war between the United States and Venezuela. By giving up the sovereignty, Trinidad has now made itself a military target, and the same thing I've been telling you guys is the same thing Keith Rowley was talking about this morning. He spoke about how dependent Trinidad and Tobago is on oil and gas, and oh my God, if that whole entire press conference was totally upsetting. It was terrifying, and for the first time we have heard from I would say semi-government official in Trinidad and Tobago finally dropping the guise of this is a drug interdiction and a crime reduction exercise, and finally it's out in the open. This is all a regime change operation against Nicolas Maduro. So the guys is up, the jig is up. It's out in the open. All of this shit about stopping the drug flow and fentanyl deaths in America, it's all nonsense, you know. So the real mission of this UNC government is not to make you safer. It is definitely not to make you safer. It is not to stop drugs. It is to get in bed with the United States and facilitate regime change in Venezuela. Welcome, Troy Smith. I see you're very, very active. Thank you for coming to the Slimy Show. Let me answer some of your questions. The TT dollar can be traded anywhere in the world, and it has a stable value of United States. What is it? 7 TT dollars to 1. So what you say just now was nonsense, where no one is taking a TT dollar. You can go to any bank anywhere in the world and trade Trinidad and Tobago dollars for whatever currency. Okay? Next question you have. I just answered that question, but like a good father. All nonsense. So apparently Troy Smith is a troll, but welcome. We welcome trolls over here. I like to interact with you. Michael Oliver, when Rowley was in power, we was not at war with Venezuela. So I hope you guys know right now that now that the jig is up, the Trinidad and Tobago UNC government is facilitating the United States in regime change operations in Venezuela. So that's basically what Keith Rowley said at the start. And he said, now that we have done this, we have become a military target for Venezuela. even if Nicolas Maduro is decapitated by an American airstrike, that would not change anything in Venezuela. As I explained to you guys last week, the Venezuelan military would assume control, and then just only bad stuff, man. If you I did previous videos about this in the past, just go look at it. But I'm not really in a good mood to report this stuff, because it's all stuff that you've heard from me in the past. So Rowley spoke about the oil infrastructure, all of those oil rigs, the gem of Trinidad and Tobago, all of those structures out there become military targets for the state of Venezuela to attack, because Trinidad and Tobago will be punished. And a question I posed to you guys last week: if those oil rigs or whatever oil infrastructure we have out there is destroyed, how are we going to build it back up? Huh? Can Trinidad and Tobago recover from any kind of bombing? How would Trinidad and Tobago recover if Venezuela just did that one shot? That's that one shot. And let's not talk about the ports, the airports, the government buildings, and all of the other military targets in the country that I told you guys about. One of the things Rowley said is Trinidad and Tobago is highly dependent on gas to survive. Once our gas supply is cut off, it's a wrap. So if you wanna understand, hold on, what's going on? All right, I'm getting. Are you guys seeing me? Are you hearing me properly? All right, forget it. Let's push forward. So, what else did Mr. Rowley speak about in his video? So the regime changes, mask is up. Why isn't the Trinidad and Tobago government coming clean about that they're assisting in regime change operations? All right. So I don't want to hear you guys talking anymore about that. This whole operation is to fight drugs. Something. Are you guys seeing me properly? Alright, I was getting a message that the stream was dropping frames just now. Alright, let's push forward. What else did he speak about that terrified the shit out of me? Oh, he said beware of this UNC government in a scam to reopen the refinery, that they pair up Paria Trading, which is the state government assets, in with the refinery and try to sell that off. And he explained the implications on what will happen to the people of Trinidad and Tobago if our state gas manufacturing plants were to be put over into private hands. And it seems like this is what the government is planning to do. They're planning to sell Paria and make everything in Trinidad private. And whoa, so if that happens, Trinidad and Tobago becomes Haiti. Once our gas falls into private hands, once that oh my god, what? Whoa, that press conference was very, very bad. So once gas production is privatized, you guys are gonna really, really feel it. And but that, him speaking about that is a little bit kind of confusing to understand how it would happen if Trinidad and Tobago is at war with Venezuela. Because if the war breaks out, Trinidad and Tobago will get invaded by Venezuela. We will get taken over, and those troops that are based on Trinidad and Tobago soil will be dead, and Venezuela will assume control of Trinidad and Tobago. All of those, if you guys were paying attention to the Slimy show, all of those drills that Venezuela has been doing over the past few months, even up until last week, all of those show of force drills is aimed at you, Trinidad and Tobago, with those parachuters jumping out of planes and tanks driving on the water and amphibious vehicles. That is all forces to invade Trinidad and Tobago. And Venezuela, once this war starts off, will not let Trinidad and Tobago become a staging ground for attacks on this country. So they will have to invade. So all of those things you saw happening, it's all preparation. And actually, now that I'm thinking about that, I feel better about that. If the Venezuela military comes into Trinidad and assumes control of the island, there will be less deaths all around with this situation that I'm thinking. And Venezuela, once in control of Trinidad, once again will be able to enforce that zone of peace. So oh God, look at all right, I'm doing on the live military planning and thinking here. So this is what, so I don't, you know what, even the because the United States doesn't have enough troops on Trinidadian soil to repel a full Venezuelan invasion. All of those planes and the parachuters and all the drones, it cannot be stopped by Trinidad. So let me tell you how Venezuela is going to do it, right? Let me tell you how they're going to do it. They're going to send over a swarm of drones over to Trinidad. Before, you know what? I will tell you that I would pretty much say that the oil infrastructure of Trinidad and Tobago for now will be safe. Don't worry about the oil infrastructure being bombed, but be worried about a Venezuelan invasion force coming into Trinidad and assuming control of Trinidad, which is a good thing. I rather Venezuela take control of Trinidad than the United States. There will be less deaths. You won't have a situation like Ukraine that where you have the Trinidad and Tobago government, like ripping people off the streets and putting them into fight into a war with Venezuela. If Venezuela comes over and assumes control of the government, all of this is over with quickly and done. And one of the reasons why China is over there in Venezuela and sending their military experts or whatever, because China has the exact same situation right now with their Taiwanese problem. So you have Chinese military advisors right now training Venezuelan military officers on how to come over and assume control of Trinidad and Tobago. I don't think Venezuela has to totally destroy the country. Like now that I really think about this, like the doomsday scenario that I had in my head is not really going to play out, because Venezuela would just take over. That's it. And once that happens, oh no, wait a minute. So if Venezuela takes over Trinidad, then the United States, the only way they can attack Venezuela is through ocean assets. This is interesting. Let's think about this on the fly, guys. What do you guys think? Give me your thoughts. The number to call in is 347-791-3311. I do take actual calls. What do you think about this press conference that Keith Rowley just did? So I'm actually debunking. I'm going to debunk what he said. So at the, like, everything, all of the terrorizing shit, everything in Trinidad and Tobago is going to come to an end. Yes, that is true. But the Venis are going to take over, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Now that I played out in my head, that's a good thing. Venezuela will not allow attacks on its country from the soil of Trinidad and Tobago, and they would nip that like quickly in the bud by coming. Oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. So Trinidad, Trinidad and Tobago, you're gonna have a good Christmas. You're gonna have everything is okay. Everything is fine. Uncle Maduro is gonna come over and take care of the country. It's okay. It's okay. We're gonna have pastels for Christmas now. What else they have in Venezuela? What other Spanish treats they have? So Maduro will now be our leader, guys. I to be honest with you, I rather Maduro take control of Trinidad than what we have right now. This is good. This is good. This is good. This is good. So let me just debunk. So you know what? Actually, everything that Rowley said in that speech, just forget everything about it. Forget everything. The doomsday scenarios he painted where the UNC government is coming and selling out all our assets. They're going to sell out Paria, and they're going to turn Trinidad into Haiti, and they're going to send us to the IMF. Forget all of that stuff Rowley said. Forget all of that. Slimy is here to tell you that Daddy Maduro is going to come over. If attacks happen on Venezuela, Maduro is going to invade Trinidad and assume control of the country. That's it. That's it. That's it. Less debts. There will be less debts. There will be less headache. All of this shit that the UNC government is doing, selling off the assets, all of that is going to stop. Because once you have a communist, actually no, well, it'll be the Venezuelan military in charge. And you will see law, you will see real law and order in Trinidad. Good times are ahead, Trinidad and Tobago. This is my military analysis. This is the way I'm thinking, and now that this is out there, I think this is the most likely scenario how it's going to play out, because the United States cannot defeat Venezuela. The United States, let me say this again. The United States cannot defeat Venezuela. Cannot. The only big bad weapon the US has is nuclear weapons, and that is not going to be used on Venezuela. I don't see that happening in any way, shape or form. So nukes is off the table, because if they nuke Venezuela, you can pretty much bet your bottom dollar that the United States will get nuked by either North Korea, Russia, or China, one of them, or maybe even Iran. So nukes are off the table. The United States is losing wars in every theater. You know, the reason why and I told you guys this before in one of my military assessments. The reason why the United States has its assets in the Caribbean Sea right now is because the Houthis chased them out of the Middle East. They kept and the longer that the United States kept their ships in the Golden Straits, and the Houthis kept throwing rockets at them, their technology kept advancing. First, the Houthis started attacking the ships with like homemade weapons. Then over time, you would see they got more and more advanced. Actually, and it's even said right now that the Houthis developed their own hypersonic missile that they're now lobbing at the United States ships. So if the Houthis, a government, one of the poorest governments in the Middle East, could put this much pressure on United States ships, imagine what Venezuela can do with all of their high-tech machinery and their Iranian drones and Iranian rockets. Because you guys know, and I told you this before, if you listen to the Slimy show, you guys know that Venezuela is actually a manufacturer of Iranian hypersonic missiles and Iranian missiles and Iranian drones. There are drone factories right now in Venezuela building stuff for the war. So if the United States was to launch an attack on Venezuela, I think maybe one of the first facilities they would go after is actually the weapons manufacturing capabilities, because Venezuela pumps out weapons. And if there's going to be a sing and dance between Trump and Maduro, like we saw in Iran, like what we saw happen in Iran was like a negotiated attack between the two countries, where Trump came in and negotiated behind the deal with Iran and say, hey, I'm going to bomb this facility, and this facility. So he sent them the target list in advance, like ahead of time. And what Iran did is they actually turned off their air defense systems and let those targets be bombed. So there was like a little back deal, underhand stuff that happened with Trump and Iran. Who is to say something like this wouldn't happen with Trump and Maduro? But then again, Maduro would have to hit back. I don't know. I don't know. This part of life thinking, this part is kind of difficult. What do you guys think? What drugs I'm smoking? Troy Smith, I'm smoking marijuana. High class, high quality marijuana. That's what I'm smoking, Mr. Smith. Thank you for asking. And if you have some Trini marijuana you want to send me, please do that. I take donations, okay? So basically, if the United States so this is the Slimy assessment. If the United States launches a military attack on Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago will get invaded by Venezuela. So ignore all that stuff Mr. Rowley said at the beginning, where the oil infrastructure and the airports and all of that stuff become targets. Yeah, that may have been true before, but now that I think about this, Trinidad needs the Venezuelan military to come take over our country. All right, that's the scenario that will lead to the least amount of loss of life. It will turn the people of Trinidad and Tobago against the Venezuelan government, but listen to my assessment. Venezuela cannot allow Trinidad and Tobago to become a staging point for military attacks on its country. All right, that cannot happen. So Venezuela, I'm actually safe for that assessment. Any other scenario plays out like into an extended battle, where there's going to be more loss of life, more attacks, and all of that stuff. So if Venezuela wants to nip this in the bud real quick, like all of those invasion ships you saw, all of those bases that they have set up in Trinidad right now, I reported to you last night that the United States has actually temporary bases set up in Trinidad and Tobago. So what you will see is like a bunch of rockets coming over, destroy those bases, and then the drones, and then you will see the paratroopers come in and land in Trinidad and Tobago. That's what's going to happen, and that will be the least. That would be the scenario where there's the least loss of life involved, I think. Best case scenario. That's a Slimy assessment. What do you guys think? All right. So basically that assessment right there just basically invalidates everything Mr. Rowley said. Everything. So imagine this, and let's dream, guys, let's dream Trinidad and Tobago. If Uncle Maduro would come over and actually take control of Trinidad, right? Let's dream a little bit. The zone of peace will be maintained. We will have Venezuelan troops on Trinidad soil, which is a much better option than United States troops, because even though we vex with each other, we all one family, and the United States and the Venezuelans will be there to protect their interests. But what I want to tell the troops is, please take care of the governmental functions of the country. All of these plans that they have of selling off Paria and selling off our assets and all this stuff, Uncle Maduro, fix that. Fix the country, fix everything that's going on. Make Trinidad and Tobago great again, Mr. Maduro. Yes. Best case scenario for Trinidad and Tobago with all this military stuff happening right now. If Trump makes the mistake of attacking Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago will become Spanish. Yeah! Let me get some Spanish music. Hold on a second. All right, so you know what? You know what? With this assessment, guys, we might have a good Christmas. We might actually have a good Christmas. That'll be the best. That'll be the best case scenario, because now if Venezuela comes over and military assumes control of Trinidad and Tobago, the entire CARICOM will support that move. I'm telling you right now. The entire CARICOM would support Venezuelan troops on Trinidadian soil, restoring sense to the country. Let me play some Spanish music for you. I'm looking for my persona non grata music. I can't find it. I'm alright. I'm feeling a little better now. So everybody, calm down. It's not as bad as it is. If the Venis are in Trinidad, it's not that big. Oh, here it is, right here. Persona non grata. Okay, it's okay, guys. It's okay. The Spanish are coming.
In Caracas this year, but your cuss and your fuss and your people declare
Persona non grata.
why you call me that name. Persona non grata. Lord, you make me feel shame. Was to be a fun thing with my parang band. Baron two was coming for Spanish woman. Promising he go sing Maria, Maria. Now los aquí across the Gulf of Paria.
Persona non grata.
Why you call me that name? Persona non grata. Lord, you make me feel shame.
If you guys think I'm wrong, disagree with me, please. Disagree with me. This is beautiful. Slimy assessment, guys. So anyway, this was an emergency stream that I just wanted to pop up. That I was forced to pop up and stream for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my assessment. Take my assessment. If you like what I said, share this video with your friend. Make sure to hit the like button, since you're in my video looking at my content for free. I'm not going to charge you, but you need to hit the like button. That is the payment for actually listening to my premium advice here. So tell me, guys, if you think I'm crazy, if you think my military assessment of this is off, is wrong, leave a comment in the chat. Let me know, because look at it. I played these videos for you guys in the past. I played the all of those military. Let me do it right now. All right, let's bring that up. All of these flexes that Venezuela has been doing for the past month is targeted at you. I need faster internet. Rowley is the only one talking sense in this whole situation here right now. The Spanish are coming. The Spanish are coming. The Venis are coming. Yeah, I'm totally now that I think about this more, I'm totally disagreeing with everything Rowley said earlier about the military targets, because the United States will not be able to build up sufficient enough force. Even if they're based in Trinidad, they would not be powerful enough to resist a Venezuelan invasion. Absolutely not. Where is the videos that I had showing these Venezuelan firepower? Hold on. Where is it? Here it is. Let's go, baby. No, wait. Alright, one of the lessons that I learned is I have to resize these videos for you because it's too big. Alright, here we go. I'm a one-man TV show right here, guys. All I need now is a faster computer. Pay attention, all of this. The Venis are coming. The Venis are coming. Los hermanos y Margarita, los reyes Venezuela grita. Es que los herederos del Caribe, libres y certeros, Bolívar, Samuel, Chávez y el pueblo unido. Una sola fuerza, un destino compartido. Se alzan los caciques en memoria viva. Hoy que duro Tamanaco, resistencia activa. Chacao, Manarure, el Paramaconi y cada ola su voz de resistencia en mi historia. De la nación, defienden soberanía. That's for you. That's for you, Trinidad. That's all of this right here is for you. Una sola fuerza, un destino compartido. Caribe soberano, memoria infinita. El viento sopla fuerte, la patria palpita. No hay guerra cognitiva que quiebre el honor. En cada soldado vive un luchador que entiende el invasor. Nuestro mar flamea con orgullo llanero, con la mano firme, Venezuela entera, brinda el horizonte, patria verdadera. The Venis are coming! Yo, all of that is for you, Trinidad and Tobago. Hold on. All of that is for you, Trinidad. And I'm pretty sure, so you know what? Forget that. And trust me, now that I think about this, now that I spin this idea wrong in my head, it seems like an option that could really restore stability to the entire fucking region. If Venezuela, so ignore everything Rowley said. The entire 2 hours of that speech that Rowley just made, totally ignore that. If the United States launches an attack against Venezuela, Trinidad becomes Venezuela. Venezuela is not going to waste no time with all that weaponry and bombing and destroying our country and destroying our infrastructure and destroying our oil. They can do that if they want to punish us, but the smarter move would be for Venezuela to just come over, assume military control of Trinidad, not destroy our oil infrastructure, and actually start putting that to use the people of Trinidad and Tobago, like Russia did for the people in Mariupol. Russia, look, and you guys should be glad and proud that Venezuela has actually teamed up with Russia, Iran, China, the actually stabilizing forces on this world, as opposed to the United States, the destabilizing force. You should be very happy that Russia is on Venezuelan side. Look at what they did with Mariupol after Russia went and blew up, because Mariupol in the Ukraine war was one of the most it was one of the most heated battles they had in the entire Ukraine war, and it was freaking level, like almost level to the floor. 6 months after Russia conquered Mariupol, 6 months later after the conquer, Mariupol is all built up. They got brand new buildings, brand new streets, brand new playgrounds, all of that stuff, and it was like impressive to watch. You don't believe me? Just go into Twitter right now and type in Mariupol, MAURIPUL, Russia, and you will see all of this stuff. So my assessment, the best thing that will happen to Trinidad and Tobago is this force of military that you just saw. Let me show it to you again. Let me show this to you again. Instead of doing all of this blowing up is not necessary. The Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force is not going to fire back at you, Venezuela. All right, the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force is only for Army Party, Army Fet. We're not here to fight bullets. We're not here to shoot bullets at you, Venezuela. We are a peaceful country. We like to wine. We like to jam. We are not a nation of war. We don't have no submarines. We don't have no tanks. If you want to bomb somebody, bomb them U.S. people that come and set up bases. The Trinidad and Tobago Regiment is for show and for party. So if Venezuela is coming, expect this to be over in one day. They might launch a few drones, take out whoever's stupid enough to fight back. We will deal with them. But Venezuela is coming to Trinidad and Tobago all year. Peaceful country. We don't want war. We don't want to fight. So all of this weaponry you're seeing, we don't need it. So just come, Venezuela, come over and take control, please. This is what you're preparing. This is what you're expecting. I want this. The Venis are coming. The Venis are coming. Oh! 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 Oh!
Corazón de la nación, se pierde soberanía, convicción del mar a la montaña, Venezuela libre de bota extranjera y de sistema tiene dueños, sangre de guerreros, herederos del Caribe, libres.
Did you people know Venezuela had this kind of hardware? How is the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force going to protect against that? It ain't happening. Oh. Yeah, I feel better about that now. That will be the scenario for the least loss of life with this, and I think this is the plan, guys. All right, where's the other? I had another slide up to show another. Oh, this is cool. Venezuela got jets, yo.
I went out for a ride. Would you ride with me? Yeah, if I ride through the night, would you be there in the morning light? Oh, if I get lost, would you look to find me?
Go Venezuela! Go Venezuela! Go Venezuela!
And make me fall, show me yours.
It's gonna be okay, guys.
I'll show you right. I don't wanna be.
That was a good video. All right, you know what? All right, forget that panic video that Rowley just made. Slimy is here to tell you that everything is going to be all right. The Vennies are going to come and make everything better. So that's it for my stream for today. You guys stay safe. We're going to have a Merry Christmas. We're going to have pastels. We're going to have so many pastels this Christmas, guys. Everything is going to be okay. Uncle Maduro is coming to save us. And you guys, Slimy, the Vennies are already here. The borders were left open for the past 10 years by the government you claim to love so much. Which government do I love so much? I'm not a PNM person. I'm not a UNC person. I'm a Trini. Right? So if the Vennies are here, that is a good thing. There'll be less loss of life in the country. Just get the gringos out the country, man. Get the gringos out. So guys, thank you for viewing. Thank you for looking at the Slimy Show. We're broadcasting on five platforms right now. The Slimy Show. Do go over today on YouTube and hit our like and follow. I'm being broadcast on the Workers' Right platform right now, but who knows what's going to happen in the future, right? We're on the Workers' Right website. We're broadcasting on Twitch and X and also the website. Hit a like and follow. Share this video with your friends. If you agreed with my assessment that I made, my military assessment, you know what? I need to put up a section for that. Slimy military assessment or something like that. Venezuela is going to come over, assume control of Trinidad. Everything is going to be all right, guys. So we're going to have like another Abraham Traore in Trinidad. It's going to be all right. All that bombing infrastructure and stuff that Rowley spoke of, ignore the whole press conference. If the United States makes the mistake and bombs Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago will not be used as a launching point for attacks into Venezuela. Maduro will take care of that. And with that, guys, I'm going to end my stream how I always end my streams, with that traditional. So I'm going to jump off. So this was nothing to worry about. Now that I think about it, it's going to be all right. So guys, thank you for viewing the Slimy Show. If there's anything important, I will try to be back later on. So take care, guys. Hope you enjoyed my assessment.
Fuck Israel all day, every day. Fuck Israel till my last breath. Fuck Israel till I'm in jail or I get shot. Fuck Israel. Fuck Zionism. Fuck you and fuck you. Fuck Israel. That's it, man. Fuck you, you colonial fucking settlers. Go fuck off back wherever you came from, you murdering psychopath colonizer motherfuckers. Fuck you, fuck Israel. You will never accept Israel. Fuck you till the end of days. Fuck you. I have a platform and I'm gonna yell it as loud as possible. Fuck Israel. Fuck you. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Good night.
Thank you for coming to the Slimy Show, guys. Hope you had a fun time. It's gonna be alright. The Bennies are here. The Bennies are gonna save us. Everything is gonna be okay. Papi Maduro is coming. Maduro is coming to save you. Maduro! Maduro! It's gonna be okay, baby. I'm not so worried anymore. Trinidad's gonna be okay. I'm not so scared anymore. Now that I think about it, if seriously, if Venezuela comes over, baby, that'll be the best case scenario right here. US better not fuck around. Oh shit, my mic is still on.